So, because there are 2 chapters, we won't read the whole thing all at once. First, in verses 1 and 2, we look at the announcement of the judgment. Then one of the 7 angels, who had 7 bowls, came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute, who is seated on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed sexual immorality, and with the wine of whose sexual immorality the dwellers on earth have become drunk." Excuse me. We want to ask ourselves today, who is the great prostitute? Who is this one described who have committed sexual immorality, and the dwellers on earth are drunk with the sexual immorality from the great prostitute? Well, clue number 1 is this great prostitute has worldwide influence. She is defined in Revelation 17:15, and the angel said to me, "The waters," meaning the waters at the end of verse 1, "that you saw where the prostitute is seated are peoples and multitudes, nations and languages." So the waters are people worldwide. No one is exempt. When it says peoples, it means people groups. That can be a tribe in a remote area. That can be a nation. Multitudes, there are many of them. Whole nations and languages. Why the judgment? Kings of the earth committed sexual immorality with her. The sexual immorality here means not only sexual immorality, but spiritual sexual immorality. Much of this is done behind scenes. You wouldn't expect that from some people. And then it filters down to the people. So our first clue is this prostitute, this great prostitute, has worldwide influence. So let's look at the description. "And he carried me away into the Spirit," that's the angel. In verse 1, then one of the 7 angels, "and he carried me away in the Spirit into a wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, and was full of blasphemous names, and it had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and jewels and pearls, holding in her hand a golden cup full of the abominations and the impurities of her sexual immorality. And on her head was written a name of mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes and of the earth's abominations. In verse 6, and I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. Many people will try to figure out who the 7 heads and the 10 horns are. We simply don't know that. We cannot know that at this time. Sometimes in Revelation it'll say 7 mountains, sometimes 7 heads. Some translation will say 7 hills. It can be 7 governments. It can be the 7 hills of Rome. We simply do not conclusively know that, and we won't know that until that is revealed. So we look at what we do know in this passage. We saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, full of blasphemous names. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and jewels and pearls. So what does this mean? That means this woman, this beast, the scarlet beasts, their primary colors are purple and scarlet. Scarlet would be more like burgundy or red to us. The primary Protestant position for the last 500 years has been this is the church in Rome, the Roman Catholic Church. Many still believe that. I would say most Protestants still believe that. The judgment is on all false religion. Okay, it's not just one. Verse 6 is a clue. 2 clues in this passage. One is primary colors are scarlet and red. You can look that up online. But verse 6, and I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. That narrows this down. That means it's not a church down the street. Okay? That means it's not a cult that started in America, such as the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, or the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's somebody different. Drunk with the blood of the saints means they killed a lot of Christians. Okay? And the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. There's only one that fits that description. If you do a search online, as I did yesterday, you will find out it is estimated that the Catholic Church has killed 68 million plus people in the last 1,500 years. It's monstrous what they've done. What's that about? What difference does it make? It all goes back to Genesis 3. Adam and Eve clothed themselves with fig leaves. That's works. They did it themselves. God, fig leaves don't work. Slave's an animal. We believe it was a lamb. And gives wine and animal skins for Adam and Eve. That's grace. The question then, the question through the entire Old Testament, the question through the entire New Testament is this. Are you saved by works? Or are you saved by grace? That's what it comes down to. That separates Protestants and Catholics, Catholics and Orthodox, Catholics and Coptic, and the rest, and the rest, and the rest. Those are the four big groups in Christianity. Catholics, Protestants, Orthodox. You don't hear much about them, but they're very big. They're called the Eastern Church, usually. And the Coptics are Egypt, Ethiopia, but they're also big. Drunk on the Blood of the Saints. A good book to read is Fox's Book of Martyrs. It's been in print for 500 years. Another clue, clue 4, is luxury behind the public's back. Okay, if you go by your average Catholic church, it does not fit this description. Okay? However, because of the scandals among the priests, the homosexual scandals that have broken out in the press, many things have come to light. There was a big debate in the Northeast because the church was asking for more money. And while they were asking for more money, they were caught buying a Rolls Royce. And the people just blew up. Donations dried up. So they had to quit the Rolls Royce. So let's look at the next clue. Commit sexual immorality, meaning both physical and spiritual. Sexual immorality, physical, we know what that is. We don't need to discuss that. Spiritual is a different gospel. A different message of the gospel. Salvation is by grace through faith. It is not of works. Salvation is not by grace through faith plus works. It is not salvation, or is not grace. Salvation is not by grace through faith mixed with works. There's no mixture. That's what some of our oneness Pentecostal friends believe. That they're usually you see the ladies who don't cut their hair and don't wear pants, they wear skirts. Those are usually, not always, but usually, oneness Pentecostals. They mix works and faith. I attended one of their churches for about 6 months one time. And I noticed a discrepancy in their doctrine. They had an error. And they mix this so that you think they're saying salvation by grace through faith, but if you do these other things, you don't get in. You don't have faith. We always have to be careful that the gospel is kept pure. By grace, from God, through faith. And that's it. Verse 7, the great prostitute has friends in government, in high places. The regathering of the friends of the great prostitute results in a declaration of war on Jesus. If I was going to war against somebody, I don't think it'd be Jesus. But that's what these guys do. And false religion will blind you to truth so that you can't see. Verse 7, what did the angel, but the angel said to me, why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns that carries her. The beast that you saw was, is not, and is about to rise from the bottomless pit and go to destruction. And the dwellers on earth, the believers living on earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, will marvel or be amazed to see the beast. Because it was, is not, and is to come. This calls for a mind of wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman is seated. There are also 7 kings, 5 of whom have fallen. One is, and the other has yet to come. And when he does come, he must remain only a little while. As for the beast that was and is not, it is an 8th, but it belongs to the 7, and it goes to destruction. And the 10 horns that you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received royal power. But they are to receive authority as kings for 1 hour, together with the beast. These are of one mind, and they hand over their power and authority to the beast. They will make war on the Lamb, and the Lamb will conquer them, because he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and those with him are called chosen and faithful. So let's look at this. John is marveling. Marvel would mean amazed. John is amazed, greatly amazed. So we're going to discuss. I will tell you the mystery of the woman and the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns that carries her. The beast that you saw was and is not and is about to rise from the bottomless pit and go to destruction. There's a lot of debate on what that means. Some people believe it's the reconstitution of the Soviet Union. Some people believe it's the European Union reconstituting as the old Roman Empire in the days that was alive in the days of Jesus. We don't know what that means. Much of verse 7 through 14, we do not know what it means. Because it's just not explained. It says the beast was and is not and is about to rise. It could be Russia. It could be the European Union. But it says it rises from the bottomless pit. That could be a demon behind working. We don't know. And the people on earth whose names have not been written in the book of life. Okay, we got 2 groups. People whose names are written in the book of life and the foundation of the world. People whose names are not written in the book of life and the foundation of the world. 2 different people. Okay? And they're amazed to see the beast. The lost people are amazed to see this beast come back together. However that happens, the world that's not Christian is amazed. And the amazement there is amazed like happily amazed. Glad you're back type amazed. Then we have the 7 heads or 7 mountains. Mountains there can mean governments. Also 7 kings. 5 who have fallen. 1 is, the other is yet to come. And when he does come, he must remain only a little while. The judgment that's coming When it hits hard. Okay? It's not a soft judgment. The thing about all this is, verse 13, these are of one mind. They're one mind. They're all agreed on one thing. And because of that, they hand over their power and authority to the beast. And when that happens, there's war against Jesus. It would seem like that war would have to be a demonic war of some kind, because if Jesus is not standing on earth, how are you going to make war against him? Or maybe he is on earth, okay? We don't know that, but the war doesn't go well for them. They lose. And as they lose, it falls apart. Verse 14. They will make war on the Lamb. And the Lamb will conquer them because he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And those who are with him are called chosen and faithful. Clue number 6 is the great prostitute hates God. Hates the one true God. But the great prostitute here thinks these others are her friends, the 7 heads and the 10 kings and everybody else involved. She thinks they're friends. But they're not. She has false friends. And the false friends turn against her. Verse 15. And the angel said to me, the waters that you saw where the prostitute is seated are peoples and multitudes and nations and languages. And the 10 horns that you saw, they and the beast will hate the prostitute. Okay? They don't like this person, this organization. So they plunder the city. They will make her desolate and naked and devour her flesh and burn her up with fire. So she's got friends who don't like her, and then God uses those friends to destroy her. Verse 17, for God has put it into their hearts to carry out his purpose by being of one mind and handing over their royal power to the beast until the words of God are fulfilled. And the woman that you saw is the great city that has dominion over the kings of the earth. The woman is a great city, okay? It's not Raleigh, Illinois. You know, it's not a county seat somewhere. It's not a remote town in Europe or Russia or anywhere else. No. It's a great city, and that great city has dominion or authority over the kings of the earth. A great city. The great prostitute, does not have real friends. False friends of the prostitute are used by God to destroy the prostitute. The judgment is certain for this. Judgment is certain. And because the judgment is certain, we want to ask ourselves, are we faithful to Jesus? Are we really in? Are we really saved? Are we depending on our works? underneath a profession of faith that you made or a prayer that you prayed, was there a thought, I'm good enough for God? Or was there a thought, look what I can do for God? If that is the case, you may want to examine your heart to see if you're really saved. It's so easy to mingle grace and faith with something. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. So I want you to examine yourself. We're going to close there and do 18 next week because it's going to take too long. Let's bow our heads in prayer as we examine our hearts. Father, speak to our hearts to bring glory to your name. We honor you, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. 132.